Revolutionary greetings. Haki Kweli Shakur coming at you today, man. Just want to say what's up to all my new African people out there. I'm going to drop this video real fast, man, on a great topic that needs to be discussed. A lot of our people not aware of, so I'm gonna knock this out for y'all and break it down like I always tell y'all, man. I'm gonna try to break it down to the simplest, comprehension for my for the youth. You know what I mean, for my street cats, street combatants, street orgs, gangs. Just all the the people that I'm trying to reach. You know what I mean, far as on that level, I know where we need power and numbers at. So this video, or either just for my everyday 9-to-5 working citizens who won't have the time to, learn about this information. You know what I mean? You can't get this information from nowhere else because they don't teach this stuff in colleges, schools, and whatever may have you. But this for you. This even for my everyday 9-to-5 working class people who not very conscious. I don't like to use that conscious word too much, but that's what it is because a lot of people took that and turned that into a fadism. So I don't even really like to elaborate on the term conscious too much, but just people who are not very knowledge on certain topics, man. This is the video is dedicated to. First, I just want to give a thanks to the Creator, the ancestors. You know what I mean? Let y'all energy, y'all spirit, the ancestral energies work through me, speak through me to get this information across to my people, man. Because this is for my people, new African people, man, new African power. And the topic that I chose to talk about today is dealing with a topic that's right in front of our eyes, man. It just needs to be really, critical analyzed. You know what I mean? So this is my new African critical analysis of this topic, and this topic is gentrification, the class warfare, and racism. Gentrification and class warfare and racism, man. And this is a real topic that needs to be looked at, and our people need to start paying attention to, because a lot of people are unaware of what's happening in their community, man, and why things are happening and things are not getting better for you, and you're being moved all around your inner cities, and you don't know why you're being removed from certain areas that you have lived in your whole life, and you wondering why you're being moved out of that area and moved into a new area. Yeah, and the thing about it is, like, you're not really aware of why this happening and what's going on around you. I'm gonna explain to you why it's going on, and you might not. I'm just showing you something that you might never seen before, like I always said, man. So this is what this video is about: gentrification, class warfare, and racism. Because gentrification is a thing that I want to say. I don't want to say it's kind of above the color lines. The invention of gentrification was supposed to be above color lines, but having these classes, like I always say, man, it's a class warfare. You got to get more to your class warfare studies, man, and a class struggle. You see what I'm saying? But race can help but play a part in this thing called gentrification in other areas of our society, because it affects certain races more than the other race. And it's one race that's doing it to another race, but they really doing it from a class aspect. But because when they doing it from a class aspect, that could be concealing what you call racism. You see what I'm saying? In their eyes, because in their eyes they're doing business. You see what I'm saying? But it's a racist structured system, which is gentrification, man, even though it's dealing with business. But see, because people got to understand, man, when we talking about racism, man, racism to me, and I want to say this clearly, and and I hope you can comprehend this to your best ability, man, because European supremacy, major reason for existence, and their main agendas are economics, capitalism. You see what I'm saying? So everything they're doing is for economic, political, social power and control. You see what I'm saying? So you can't get racism first. You must, you got to get capitalism first. Racism comes from capitalism. This is what we need to understand, man. Capitalism is the origin of racism because capitalism is um, economic power. You see what I'm saying? That's all capitalism is, and it's an ideology and a system that puts one class of people over another class of people, and to keep those people oppressed and impoverished. You see what I'm saying? So try not to keep focusing on the color line. You know what I mean? But dealing with this subject, we must, because gentrification is a racist structured system, man. So let me get right on into it, man, because I don't want to, you know what I mean, be too long about this gentrification thing. What is gentrification? Gentrification is a system, a structured system that is based on a shift in urban communities toward a wealthier residents and business and increasing property values. You see what I'm saying? This is what gentrification is. It's an economic structural business system that focuses on what I redeem as, because to me it's two different types of urbanism and urban cultures. You know what I mean? The founding urban culture, which was from the black community, we was labeled the so-called urban. You see what I'm saying? But in 2014, in this new millennia, it's a new urban culture which has shifted from the African black culture to the European white culture, which is the neo-urbanism. You see what I'm saying? And so what gentrification is, that new neo-urbanism structured system for the wealthy white European class who comes into the old urban culture communities and remove them by, you know, this thing they call development, which is development is also a smoke screen term, because development can cause more harm to a certain people than it does another, and it benefits the other more than it benefits the other. You see what I'm saying? This is what gentrification is. It's the displacement of an impoverished, lower class, poor community by an upper, wealthy class of people who comes in these communities to remove these people, to redevelop that area, because that area has went down on property value, you know what I mean, from the people who was living there because they was impoverished and they didn't have the power to, you know, raise that community up. You see what I'm saying? So these neo-urban culture business people and wealthy elite come into that community and remove those people, and they come in and set up, you know, new businesses and new development ideas to bring that property value up and to profit off that property. You see what I'm saying? It's very easy, man. Gentrification, man. And let me explain this. As far as gentrification, who does it affect? And this is where your racism comes in the picture. You know what I mean? This is where they use the strategy of color. You know what I mean? But it affects these people more than it does these people. You know what I mean? So, prime example. When we're talking about impoverished, lower class communities, who are the majority of the percentage of those people living in impoverished communities? The old urban communities. Browns and blacks. Who are the new neo-urbanism class of people who come in and remove those people? Who are the greatest percentage of that upper class? European Americans. and also other foreign entities and races of people who are in that wealthy upper class. Because we even got, don't get it twisted, we even have Negroes, blacks, who are part of this neo-urbanism, you know what I mean, business upper class of people. They are your people who are going to help this European upper class of business come into these communities and remove the lower impoverished class of people, that percentage that is made up of brown and black people. So throughout history, this has affected us more because it has displaced us all across inner cities, man. You see what I'm saying? And we're never getting nothing out of this. You see what I'm saying? It's just making our conditions and our way of life worse. You see what I'm saying? Because we're getting removed and displaced all across inner cities, getting bunched up in certain parts of the cities. That's segregation. That's neo-segregation. Because they're moving us out of areas and putting us clammed up in a small area with other impoverished people from other parts of the city. And this is causing all types of havoc. This is what's causing your murder rate in Chicago. If you want to know, gentrification was what is causing that murder rate in Chicago, because you're moving people from different areas of the city that's impoverished and into the same communities, and these people may have a history of not getting along. This is where your crime and your murder rate come from. You see what I'm saying? Because you're moving people into certain communities who are part of street organization, aka gangs and other type of, just communities that don't get along with each other, man. You see what I'm saying? I hate for it to say it that way and I hate for it to be that way, but that's what it is. And this is what is causing your violence in inner cities across America. You see what I'm saying? The displacement of the lower class impoverished communities, which is made up of blacks and browns. You see what I'm saying? So, this is what they do, man. You know what I mean? It's the fact that we don't have no economical, social, political power in our communities, which is what I want y'all to get, man. You got to stand up, man, because without any economical, social, political power, you have no say-so on these projects and these developments that's coming from the neo-urban 1% wealthy elite people coming in and removing you and doing things to your community that you don't agree with. Being that we don't have no voice and no power, man, no numbers, you can't do nothing about it. You see what I'm saying? And this is the problem, man. You know what I'm saying? And this is where your whole systems that I call traps, because a lot of these systems are traps, and the way they got us living far as black people, New African people in America, man, it's like we don't recognize what we're doing in our own communities. Like, they come set up all these foreign businesses in your communities to keep you from gaining independence and economic independence, and for you to, you know what I'm saying, to build businesses in your communities so you can sustain that community, so you won't have to move nowhere. So they do all these strategic tactics like bringing in all these foreign businesses and putting them in your community so you won't get none of those spaces and areas to build your own businesses up to have power. This is what they doing to you, man. You know what I'm saying? And a prime example is what's going on in my city right now. I'm going to touch on this topic real quick, which is Richmond, Virginia, with this baseball stadium thing. And I want my people in Richmond, Virginia to understand this, man. Like, you're doing all this partying down there, man. You know what I mean? That's cool and everything. But if they put this baseball stadium in place, how long do you think you're going to be down there partying? And I'm going to tell you what they're doing, man. Okay. If they build this baseball stadium and they put this baseball stadium up down there in Shako Bottom, which is deemed the old urban area, because this is where blacks, New African people go and conjugate at. You know what I mean? That area is surrounded by predominant New African black communities. Because up the hill from Shako Bottom is Church Hill, historical Church Hill. Church Hill is a New African black community that is ran down due to crime, poverty, and just purified, you know, I don't want to use that word trifling, but it's ran down. We ran the community down up there. And the city didn't help us develop nothing or help us, you know, create economic power and put businesses in Churchill or whatever, you know what I mean, to sustain our abilities to keep that community up. You see what I'm saying? So then you have up the street Mosby Court. Then you got the city jail. All this stuff, I remind you, man, you know what I mean? This is black communities that surround Shako Bottom. So this is a old urban New African black area. Due to the fact that also this is where the historical slave trade took place. You know what I mean? This is where the historical African burial grounds is at. So this is what they're going to do. Because one, you black club owners and all you black so-called business cats who got your little businesses and restaurants and things down here in Shako Bottom, this is the point. You don't own those buildings. You see what I'm saying? By you not owning those buildings and you're just renting those buildings, when they build this stadium, they're bringing their new urbanism and wealthy corporations and businesses with them that's going to help them profit off of this baseball stadium. So that's going to bring in more Europeanized and more foreign businesses and control and put in that community, and you're going to be removed out of that because you're not doing nothing but paying rent down there. You see what I'm saying? And they're going to, and I'm going to tell you what they're going to do with you. They're going to move you up out of Shako Bottom, up Broad Street, and crowd you into those areas, and they may let you have your little clubs and your little restaurants in the middle of Broad Street, but which I doubt. But if they do it, they're doing it strategic because you got the police precinct right around the corner that's right there, and you know they got another police precinct right there down the street on Chamberlain Avenue. So you're going to be surrounded by the police to control you and watch over you. And you get out of hand, you're going to jail. It's a trap, man. It ain't a trick, it's a simple trap, man. They're going to remove you from down there and move you up Broad Street where they can control you. You see what I'm saying? And by them building that stadium and bringing in their own businesses, who this going to affect? Because they're not going to hire you, New African people, black people, for their businesses, man. You see what I'm saying? You're not going to get no economic power out of that. You're not going to get no employment. None of that. So what does this do? This is going to bring the Europeans who have moved up out of the city back into the city and back into Shako Bottom to control Shako Bottom and to suppress your history of the African slave trade. And they're going to compromise with putting up a bullshit memorial that's you're not going to profit off. I mean, I don't want to say profit off because that sounds kind of harsh as far as towards our ancestors, but you're not going to be able to control the African burial grounds, that memorialization project, whatever they want to put up down there, and it's not going to bring no black businesses down there, man. Because if we was to keep that area and keep that stadium from down there, we can use our voices to propose bringing in stuff that's more attributed to what happened in our history, like African Museum down there, you know, like our African Center Education Academy can be put down there. I mean, any type of black businesses that's dedicated to the historic history of New African people's Holocaust, the Ma'afa, can be brought in down there to create businesses and employ our own people. If we keep that stadium from down there, you see what I'm saying? So this is gentrification. They're going to remove you black people from down there. You're not going to be able to party down there no more because they don't want to want you down there because of your history of criminality, your history of just, you know, chaos, because that's how they look at you. You know what I mean? It's a crime. They look at you as criminal people. So they're not going to want you down there. You see what I'm saying? They're going to move you from down there. You know what I mean? And then they're going to work their way. They're going to build up all this development, build up all these apartments, and make the rent high so you can't afford it. So the impoverished people can't afford it, which is colored people. You're not going to be able to afford nothing down there. You see what I'm saying? They're going to work their way up because my partner already put me onto this. They're going to work their way up into Churchill and redevelop Churchill. And they're going to turn Churchill back into a Europeanized area. Neo-urbanism. That area is going to be white again. This is a 20-year, 30-year plan, man. They've been doing this since the 70s, my dude. You see what I'm saying? And this is going on in every city across the United States of America. We must say no to gentrification. Gentrification is no good for black people. Because you're going to get removed wherever you're at. Katrina is another prime example. Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. What you think they did? After that hurricane came through there, the upper class 1% wealthy was sitting back plotting the whole time as that hurricane was going on, what they was going to do to the inner city of New Orleans, man. And look what happened. New Orleans residents got removed all across the country. All the impoverished New African people in New Orleans got moved up out of there from state to state, state to state, and haven't returned. Only a few. And who has moved in down there in New Orleans, in the inner city of New Orleans now? Europeans. Go there. I can prove it to you. Go there and look. And see who living in these areas and who came in there and now is developing these areas and building these areas up and bringing in their businesses down there. You see what I'm saying? Sports and all this stuff, man. All this stuff got to do with gentrification. It's business. Capitalism. Katrina is another prime example, man. You know what I'm saying? And this is what gentrification is. You see what I'm saying? The displacement of impoverished people, class of people, by a 1% wealthy class of people. It's a class warfare on us, man. And even your poor European Americans are also being displaced across the country. You know what I mean? Just in case you want to think it's just on New African people and brown people. But yes, the poor whites are also being gentrified. Because they're getting packed up in trailer parks. You see what I'm saying? And sectioned off in one part of the city, or either getting moved out the city into your local surrounding counties. See, all them Europeans that move into the counties are going to come back down into the city, man. This is what gentrification does, and they section off their area. You know what I mean? This is how projects get torn down. You know what I mean? Or they move projects to another area and pack all the people into that area. This is self-destruction, man. This is segregation. Neo-segregation, man. Gentrification is a racist power structure, business, structured system. Period, man. You know what I mean? This is what's gonna happen, and this is what is going on in every city across America, man. And let me give you a brief. I'm gonna give you a brief history on gentrification, man. A little brief history. I'm gonna run down, scroll through right quick, man, so you'll get a better understanding on gentrification before I shut this video down, man. And the thing about gentrification was established and originated was so-called supposed to help. Impoverished people. You see what I'm saying? This is what gentrification was originally for. You see what I'm saying? To help impoverished people, man. And is it doing that? No, it's not. You know what I'm saying? It's not helping us. It was taken over by the power structure. You see what I'm saying? And they took that and used that as a strategic system to keep you in a mess. I like to say in a mess. They keep you in a mess, man. You see what I'm saying? And that's what's going on right now all across your city, man. And this is what the Richmond mayor of Richmond, Virginia is doing. He is helping the power structure gentrify the African burial grounds in the historical African area. This is gentrification, people. This is what it is. You know what I mean? This is what it is. It's a sham, man. And it's going to destroy y'all people, man. Y'all people not even, you know, you're so distracted because you're partying too much, man. That's what it is, man. You're partying too much, man. And by you partying too much, you're not seeing what's going on around you. You know what I mean? And that's keeping you blind. You see what I'm saying? To what's going on around you, and you're going to be assed out in the end. This is why our business, our so-called people who are got these so-called black businesses, you need to wake up and see what's going on around you and get involved in this fight and use your voice. Even the artists, man. The artists, y'all need to step up too, man. Like all y'all cats running around here doing all this music and all this stuff right here, man. Y'all got to tighten up too, man. Because y'all got the voices and the power to bring all this type of stuff into the light. You see what I'm saying? But y'all not doing that, man. Y'all not doing it. Y'all not doing it at all. And I'm gonna run down this quick history on gentrification, man. I'm trying to get back to the page where I was seeing this little information on gentrification, man. I kind of lost it, but I'm gonna get to it. Hold on, man. Gentrification, and I'm gonna just run down a little history on where this came from. Displacement. It's very eye opening. You see what I'm saying? Because it's been in effect for years now. This has been going on since the 60s and the 50s on up into the 70s, man. You see what I'm saying? This is where it came from. This is exactly where it came from. Gentrification and displacement. Oh, man, I lost the page on the history of the gentrification. Hold on, man. Yeah, I got it. Here we go. Here go the little history of gentrification and displacement and what I call the new urbanism, man. Because the new urbanism is a European culture now, man. You see what I'm saying? Because they done that's what they do, man. They take your culture, they suck it dry, and create their own. You see what I'm saying? This is another thing we don't. Here's a little history on gentrification, man. Interestingly, the first wave of gentrification happens nearly simultaneously with the beginning of the civil rights movement. As the people were starting to make a new demands for greater equality, the state intervened and attempted to forge urban equality through gentrification. See, this is the origin. Overall, this method of gentrification failed to give the desired payoffs of economic or racial equality and simply led to increased inequalities within and whitening of central cities. It was during this stage of that gentrification as a word gained its negative connotation as a highly classist and racist process that hurts poor minorities and helps rich white people. Furthermore, the failure of the first wave of gentrification coupled with the failure of the left-wing racial equality programs. That gave the conservative backlash more ammunition with which to argue for the less state intervention and colorblind racist policies. For example, Omi and Winnott, 1994, note that the beginning of the 1970s ushered in systematic setbacks in the domestic economy and U.S. reversal on the international level, which explained by attacking the liberal interventionist state. Many of these criticisms had racial subtext. Progressing from one wave, Wave 2 began in the 1970s and continued through the 1990s when gentrification became increasingly intertwined with the wider processes of colorblind free market. Urban economic and policy restructuring. Omni and Winnott, 1994, concurred that a market ideology with regard to the state's functioning was emerging during this decade. They write that the state was obviously target of criticism for the economic's poor performance. Indeed, the state was blamed for obstructing the economy's natural tendencies toward recovery. The second wave of gentrification essentially function as a transition stage to an ideologically background for wave 3, and it is best understood as the period in which conservative free market colorblind arguments gained their foothold in both the public discourse and the policy development and implementation of processes. This is the main thing right here. Check this out. Wave 3. Wave 3 emerged in the 1990s and continues to this present day. In this wave, gentrification becomes a part of the new urbanism, a development strategy that uses colorblind neoliberal free market ideologies to justify its policies. The shift separates cities and individuals from the state by eliminating state subsidies for housing and urban development. New urbanism has two immediate consequences. First, it forces U.S. cities into an era of global city-to-city competition for capital, the creation of the world city. And second, it forces individuals to fend for themselves in a free market in this new urban context. The city must sell itself to the highest bidder, and development is no longer focused around industry. The city no longer directly engages in the physical gentrification, but instead proposes colorblind neoliberal development policies and zoning ordinances that encourages free market gentrification, making cities an open global market for developers and development. This creates what is known as property-led economic development. In this current general policy trend, all responsibilities for inequalities are shifted to the market, and individuals, allowing policymakers to de-emphasize issues of race while they continue with implicitly racist and still implicity's classic new urbanism, new gentrification projects. And finally, the third wave of the gentrification claims to reduce sprawl by bringing people back into the center city, which is European wealthy Americans. Ooh-wee, man. However, this third wave gentrification produces cities that are colonized by white people through mixed-use zoning, a development trend in which the colonizer targets neighborhoods that have been previously occupied by economically disadvantaged people of color. Mixed-use zoning is a slight improvement from the past ways of gentrification policies that simply remove all lower-class people from a neighborhood. Mixed-use zoning supposedly enforces building restrictions that require the construction of multi-family dwellings alongside the more traditional, more expensive single-family units. And more expensive single-family units that gentrification has tended to produce in the past, with mixed-use zoning, affordable housing is subsidized by the state for approximately 10 to 20 years. See what I'm saying? This is what they do. This is what they've been doing, people. Gentrification has been set up as a strategic system. It's a 10 to 20 year plan to where they let communities of color undeveloped and lose property value because of the state that new African black people and people of color are in. We are so in a disarray of a community that we are tearing down our communities and bringing down our property values, and in return the European wealthy power structure is sitting back watching this, and they are developing plans to let you do that so they can come in and have an excuse and a reason to bring and propose these new development and projects and businesses to bring them into those communities and remove you out of them and bring Europeans back into the inner city who used to control the city from the beginning, because you know how we got in America. You see what I'm saying? So we all know these cities across the South and across America was European at one time. But they left those cities and let us move in when they built up all these projects in all these areas and neighborhoods that are not high developed but lower developed, and let us move into the city. And they see how we started to tear down the city because we're so disarray of people mentally and physically, through crime and poverty, they been building up this system of gentrification over decades for them to come in and to remove you and to serve their businesses, man. This is what is going on around you. You see what I'm saying? We must say no to gentrification. Gentrification is a strategic tactic in a physical warfare, class warfare, racist warfare on new African people, brown people, and people of color, and displaced, impoverished people, man. And I'm going to sign off right there on that note, man. You know what I mean? Say no to gentrification. Stand up. We need social, economic, political power, man. We need a voice. We need numbers. So, I'm going to sign off right here, man. Haki Kweli Shakur, man. And Cedar Gabriel Prosser, man. Free the land, man. Let's get free.